Okay, great. All right, well, hello everyone. This is Benjamin Dez with Questel, and I will co-host this webinar with Marc Kaufman. Marc is a partner at Rimon PC who specializes in patent strategy, patent portfolio management, and monetization. Marc has been named consistently to the IM 350 top patent strategists. So welcome, Marc.
Thank you, Benjamin, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, depending on where you are. I'm pleased to be here to tell you a little bit about using the Questel Orbit tool for business intelligence.
Good, thank you. So at the end of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session. Please feel free to ask your questions using the chat. I think there's a little Q&A link during the presentation. We'll go over them at the end of the presentation. So patent strategy is, and leveraging patent data is going to be the topic of the webinar today. Patent strategy is usually associated with corporations who use them for R&D purposes. However, patent data is very rich and can also be leveraged by law firms, not only to provide quality services to their customers, but also to enhance their knowledge of the industry, educate themselves about client strategies, and favor business development. So during the presentation today, we will focus on first, how to use patent data to gain some insights on the market and on your clients. Then we will review the requirements to provide quality reports to your clients using Orbit data. So I think, Marc, you can switch to the next slide, and that's going to be our first section, marketing and business development using Orbit.
There we go. We're a little slow in advancing the slides. Well,
again, okay. There you go. I'll give you the, sorry about that.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you. So again, we're going to talk today about using patent data and the rich information in patent data for business development purposes, and particularly using the Questel Orbit tool, and we'll show you some examples from that. And I can tell you in my practice, I have found it very valuable in business development, and I think you'll see some examples today of how it can be used to help increase your business.
Good. Thank you, Marc. So to start the webinar for the first section, we're going to talk about how law firms can learn about their own activity and their own activity, and to look a little bit more at the clients they work with. So, Marc, sorry about the little technical issue. I think you can change the slides now.
There we go. Okay. What you should be seeing now is a screenshot of the Questel Orbit Tools search window. And if you look closely, you can see that you can search by just about any parameter you can imagine: S&Es, technology domains, keywords, legal status, and on and on. The search that we are going to focus on immediately will be a search based upon legal representative, patent attorney in this case. And so we are going to pretend today that we all work for Ackerman LLP. I don't think any of you do, but if you do, you may learn a little bit about your firm and your clients today, in fact. And Ackerman is a pretty large firm that has many IP attorneys and many locations. So there's probably no one person there that really has a good handle on their client activities. So if we were to do a search for Ackerman as the client representative, we would end up with something like this. Now, this data can be sliced and diced in many different ways. But what you're looking at here is a list of Ackerman's top clients by count of patent family. For example, they have Ackerman as the representative of record, and of course, this is based solely upon publicly available records. Representative record on 410 different patent families for AT&T. And you see they do quite a bit of work for University of Florida, IBM, etc. Gives you a good overview of who their clients are and where they're making their money. So looking at this in a little different way, we've now plotted the same data, Ackerman clients by year. The larger circles represent more patent filings in that, more patent publications in that year. This happens to be by publication. It could be searched by filing date, could be searched by priority date, or just about any other date. And it's interesting here, you see, of course, they do a lot of work again, a lot of big circles for AT&T, a lot of big circles for IBM, a lot of big circles for University of Florida, all their top clients. And there's a lot of things that come out when you look at a trend. For example, take a look at Fujifilm right about the middle there, where we have the big circle. Looks like starting in 2008 and up through 2010, Ackerman began to do quite a bit of work for Fujifilm. And then 2011, that work seems to have disappeared. Why, we don't know. Could be they had conflict. Could be they were entirely aware of this. Could be they had a client relationship issue or a quality issue or something they don't know about as to why they lost that work. So it may be interesting to them to look at where that work went, or where some of the other work went that they were doing at one time and are not doing now. Similarly, they may want to look at things like the AT&T work, which continues to be strong. So I don't mean to only focus on the negative, but in this case, let's take a look at the Fuji photo film and see if maybe there's a way to help Ackerman get a handle on that. A little slow on the changing of the slide. No, I think I skipped two. I think I skipped a couple. Wow. Pardon me while I go back. I thought we had, we're a little out of order here, but let's go with what we have so I don't have to skip around. So here's an interesting slide, and this is, we've anonymized the law firms here so as to make no pejorative implications in any way, but this is a very interesting and helpful graph where we've taken 3 law firms and looked at their prosecution time along the x-axis. The leftmost corner being less than 12 months from filing to completing prosecution, and the rightmost column being greater than 60 months to completing prosecution. And in this case, we see that law firm B, what jumps out at us is they have a lot of cases under 36 months. That generally is good. They can show that they are very fast about prosecuting their applications. Whereas law firm C, when we look at it, has a lot that are under 36 months, but boy, the big percentage of theirs are at 48, and even the largest number is at greater than 60 months. Their prosecution goes quite slow. Now, this is the kind of data you may want to use to show the relative strengths and weaknesses of your firm and to tune your pitch. For example, one might say, oh, law firm C is very slow. If you're law firm B, that may be the way you want to look at it. They're slow. If you're law firm C, you might take a look at your work, and it might turn out that, hey, we do very, very complex, we at law firm C do very complex strategic work, and we don't just take allowances for the sake of getting allowances that the examiners want to give us. We prosecute our patent applications and appeal many of them and get our clients very valuable patents. So point being that while it's interesting to see the relative speed of prosecution, it's not necessary, of course, as most of you know, that being faster is better. But I think understanding how you stack up vis-a-vis your competitors will help you to tune that pitch to your clients properly. So here's the slide I was expecting a moment ago. And recall that we saw that Ackerman had a drop off of work for Fujifilm in the year 2011. So let's look at who are the representatives for Fujifilm. And we've, in this case, we've taken that from 2011 on. And so we see that it's not that Fujifilm stopped filing patent applications entirely. It's that for whatever reason, the relationship with Ackerman for filing patent applications did not continue, but it certainly did continue with some of these other firms. Now, again, there are many reasons why Ackerman might not be doing that work, and only they know that. But you can see that if that was work that they lost and they didn't want to lose, they could now look at who's doing the work and how do we stack up with these competitors vis-a-vis these competitors. Can we show Fuji that we're faster, better, have greater experience, less expensive? Of course, knowing who your competition is helps you to tune your marketing pitch to your client. And here we can see who's doing the Fuji photofilm work or Fuji film work that Ackerman was not doing after 2010.
So, thank you, Mark. And Fujifilm was a great introduction on how we can use patent data and patent analysis to learn more about clients and their activity. Now, we're going to do a focus on the Questel company. So tell us a little bit more, Mark, how patent data can be a great means to understand your clients for wider purposes.
Sure, be glad to, of course. So, of course, it's great to understand your competition, but another critical element of client development is understanding the client or the potential client. And so now we'll take a little bit of a look at how we can do that using the Orbit tool. What you're seeing here is a result, and only one result, of the automated semantic analysis engine that the Orbit tool has. And I use this quite a bit, and it really is a powerful tool. And this diagram that you see showing the concepts in the subject matter of the Questel patent portfolio is generated entirely in an automated manner at the push of a button after searching the Questel patent portfolio. And you see in the sort of wheel, the innermost slices are concepts, and then the outermost slices are sub-concepts of those concepts. And you start to see a really good high-level picture of what kind of technology is Questel protecting with their patent portfolio, and how much are they investing in each different area. Of course, when you view this in the tool, this is all live, meaning we could mouse over the cylindrical shell concept, and we would see in a pop-up window all the patents in that concept categorized under that concept, and could look at each individual one on the fly. So a really, really powerful tool. I know I have a bunch of lawyers here. I'm not going to tell you that this takes the place of manual categorization, but this is a really, really good start to understanding your client's patent portfolio. So looking at the Questel patent portfolio a little bit differently, in this case, we've now are looking at the different categories, and we are also broken this down by granted and pending. Again, it gives us an idea of where their activity is and where the status of their portfolio is. And this is, I didn't mention, this is based upon IPC codes. This is not a semantic analysis. This is IPC codes, just a different way that we can use the tool to categorize the portfolio. Yet another categorization that we can see with the Orbit tool. again, based upon IPC codes, just a different kind of view. The different sizes of the boxes indicate the relative amounts of patents in each of these categories, IPC code categories. And again, this is live, so if we wanted to look and see what is in any particular classification, we can click on it and see those patents. Another interesting tool is looking at co-assignees. You know, were there patents that are either concurrently or successively owned by different parties, which is an indication of parties working together. And here we see there's some indication that Questel worked with these other two parties. We'll look at this a little more later on, but it's again a very nice way to discover other potential clients that for which your experience may be, for which you can leverage your experience from another client. This graph is based upon citation analysis. These are companies whose patents were cited by Questel in their patents. Of course, it makes sense. They cite their own patents the most, but they're also citing a lot of these others. Again, this is a way of understanding who has related technology and where might I leverage my experience from one client, Questel in this example, with other clients. Of course, you know, there are conflicts issues in all these areas that have to be dealt with, but again, this is a very good start to understanding who has very related technology that is relevant to our experience. Looking at it a different way, these are companies who are citing Questel patents. And the list is similar, but not identical. And again, Questel cites their own a lot, but who else is looking at them? You know, Air Liquide, BASF, some others. And again, an interesting way to find related technology. This chart is something that is very near and dear to my heart. This is an indication of continuing patent strategy. You know, the strategic use of continuations, divisionals, and CIPs. And I feel that an active strategic continuation practice is probably the greatest way to add value to a patent portfolio. So this is something that I like to take a look at a lot, and it can tell me where a client stands and how they might improve. So what we're looking at here are priority years across the x-axis, plotted versus application year along the y-axis. And of course, where we see a significant distinction between the priority year and the actual filing date or application year, we can infer that that is a continuing application, either a divisional, a CIP, or a continuation. And in this case, we see quite a few. I might argue that they might want to be doing more of this, but it's a pretty healthy strategic use of continuations, I would assume, in that they're using hindsight to take and tune their claims to fit the market. I would assume that's why they're filing these continuations. And for example, if you look at, they have in the priority year of 1998, the third one from the left, they have a couple applications filed later than the priority date. One in particular as late as 2006. So 8 years later, they were filing a continuation in this. Well, we don't know it's the same family, but it's likely the same family. So 8 years later, they were filing a likely continuation that I would assume they were filing this for strategic purposes. But again, it's a really good indicator of whether they are leveraging continuation practice. Sometimes you find that a potential client's not doing this. It's a great way to go in and say, hey, look, you could be doing better, especially when you compare it with their competitors who may have an active continuation practice. here is another useful tool in the Orbit tool. And this is the ability to find similar patents based upon semantic analysis of the concepts in the patents. So this is not based upon keywords directly. It's not based upon patent classification or S&E. This takes a semantic analysis of all the patents that are in our universe here, all the ones that are checked in this case, push the little button, and we will get back a result of other patents that are similar, and they will also be ranked by, if you look on the right-hand side, you see the relevance. And I find myself doing this a lot to understand a patent landscape, especially when we don't know who the competitors are. And you can take a look through the patents and usually make a cutoff of what relevance is good, and usually somewhere around 70, 80, 85% relevance, you have patents that are really highly relevant and similar, and not patents that would always show up in your ordinary search. So again, a great way to understand who your client's competitors are, where you may leverage your existing experience, and particularly in this case, we often find S&Es who are filing patent applications on similar concepts, but maybe in different technology spaces. You know, aerospace versus automotive, for example, or something like that, where we can find potential clients for which we have relevant experience, but for which we might not have a conflict. Again, a very powerful tool for both understanding the landscape and for business development. So here is another view of that data where we have taken similar technologies, let the tool find similar patents that have similar concepts, and then just shown a graph of the players that have the most similar patents. It's not surprising that Questel has the most similar patents to their own patents. That would make sense. But there are some others here, and I don't know Questel's market well, but looking at the diversity of spaces here, there are probably some that surprised them, that they wouldn't have thought of as competitors, but are patenting very similar technologies. So now, if we look at that same data over time, and again, bigger circle means more patent filings, more grants, I'm sorry, in this case, this is by grant year. Again, you can plot all these by grant year, by priority year, by filing date. We can see that, for example, Questel's been pretty steady, but they're growing in their patent acquisition. Bayer seems to be sort of a more recent player in this space. Shell the same way. Again, a client can understand their competitors' investments better. We can understand potential clients and our own client better. And here's an interesting way to look at things. This is based upon backward citations. Who is citing who? And you start to see, again, relationship between technologies based upon who's citing who. For example, we see that Kellogg, Brown, and Root seems to be citing Questel patents quite a bit. This is just a little more of a, well, three-dimensional, if you will, look at citations, a way to look at citations as opposed to just the graph. This allows us to now look at citations between one party and others, but it's a multi-party view of citations to help us understand the players in the technology space. Here again, we mentioned this earlier. We're looking at the entire space, and we're looking at partnerships as indicated by co-assignment. And this is pretty typical when you run one of these graphs, in that you'll see these, what I'll call coalitions. In the lower right-hand corner, you see sort of a coalition between Nippon Steel and Cosmo Oil and some others. And at the bottom, there's one between Advanced Green Innovations and some others. And it's very interesting to see who may be working together or doing deals together with patents. Again, we can identify potential clients for which our experience may be relevant.
Okay, so that was for the business development section of our presentation. Now, related to the tool, when providing services to your client, Orbit's going to help you with a lot of different transactions: patent search and analysis for any patentability, FTO, and validity searches, or white space analysis, for due diligence assignment searches. Orbit's going to have various features that help you perform these tasks. So first, we're going to visualize the Orbit data. Mark, you can go to the next slide. So when giving legal opinion, performing due diligences on civil patent searches, the data is key. So first of all, when evaluating tools, I would say the data is one thing you should look into. Something that's often overlooked is the full text authorities. Everybody will claim millions of patents, hundreds of countries. The full text, the full text is where you're going to see access to claims and where the real content of a patent is going to be shown. Other things that are included would be litigation, licensing, standards, and design data. All of these data that are non-patent related help you also get a little bit more information about corporation and your clients or future clients. We also have enhanced fields. So in reality, the value of the provider is not just the pure data. We don't just resell the data, but there's a lot of work that is done on it to make you gain time, make you gain productivity when you review the results of your searches. For this, Orbit adds key content and concepts that helps you understand patents at a glance and access the key information in one click. And also machine translation of full text, again, something that sometimes may be a little bit overlooked, but the ability to search in English worldwide databases is another added value of a patent search, patent data provider. Legal status data and assignment data are really what's important, especially for due diligence. Orbit is known for the legal status data and the assignment data, normalization of assignees. I know, Mark, you were saying when we were preparing this webinar that it's something that you like specifically. So one thing that we do in Orbit as well.
Yeah, I did want to comment on that. Thank you. As everybody in attendance knows, one of the biggest obstacles to meaningful patent searches and thus analysis is assignment names and normalization of assignment names. I mean, the one example that we always talk about is IBM. They've recorded patents under IBM, I period, B period, M period, International Business Machines, every variation and possible typo thereof. And in addition, they have, hundreds of subsidiaries and things like that. How do you get a meaningful search out of that? Well, Orbit has done a really nice job of normalizing all that, not only the typographical errors, but the different names for the same company and subsidiaries and parent companies. And when you do a search, you can select which subsidiaries and which other variations you want within your search, and it is really the first tool I've used that has normalized assignment names to an extent where I really can do meaningful searches and have high confidence that I've missed very few patents and that I have an accurate search based upon S&E.
Okay, so in order to fully take advantage of the data, Orbit offers more, an advanced interface to search all the data. So you see on screen directly title abstract claims, you see classification codes, the legal status options to filter prior to your search. You can of course search assignees, numbers, countries, etc. So that's the advanced approach to the search. We also have different approaches. We're going to show you next to this slide the semantic search, something that we released more recently, about a year and a half ago. Marc wanted to talk about this as well.
Yes, this is a really cool tool in my mind, and it's actually a three-step search that gives you input into each phase of into each step of the search, but leverages the automated semantic analysis. And I found this to be really good, particularly for validity searches, where we've done the keyword searches, we've done assignment searches for the likely parties that would have relevant technology. We've done searches based upon classification codes, all that, and we haven't found anything. This is a really good tool. And you begin by typing in a description into this box. And it could be claims from a patent, it could be an abstract, it could be an entire patent, it could be your own description of the field, whatever you want. And the more description, the better. And then you hit next, and you will get a list of concepts that have been culled in an automated way from that description. And you can then take and select the concepts that you think are valid to your search, relevant to your search, and also add additional concepts if you think it missed any. From that step, the tool will do a search of patents that semantically contain those concepts in claims and specification, every part of the patent. From there, you can then, and this is the third step, and your third level of input here, is you can check the patents that are most relevant. Where did the tool really, as any automated tool is, it's not perfect, and to date, not quite as good as you are. But we can then take and we can review the patents that are found and select the ones that are most relevant, and then do another search for semantically similar patents to those most relevant patents. And it's really a thing of beauty. I found that it creates an excellent search, and again, particularly to find that sort of needle in the haystack for validity searches. But I'm real high on the semantic search engine.
Okay, so once your search is performed, then the key element is going to be how you're able to review the data. Orbit tries to make that as customizable as possible, as easy to read as possible. So you're going to have 3 panels to review your data, a filter on the left side that helps you drill down the portfolio, and a hit list and the preview. And these the two ladders are highly customizable and allow you to display abstract images on one side, even pop up a window with the independent claims. And again, that's the key of such tools, because really what we are doing is trying to make you more productive and more efficient. So that's what we're trying to do here. The next slide shows a legal status family view. I think that's pretty interesting because the legal status is very important information. Sometimes a little hard to read when you have a big family like the example we have on screen. So the key here is to show you in one glance the legal status of all the patent members of the family, so we can see which ones are alive, which ones are lapsed, dead, etc. in just one look. Other types of charts that you can have in the patent family are the citation graph. So very quickly you can identify backward citations, forward citations on screen. You can even filter self-citation. I believe that's pretty pretty helpful. Color by to find out who are the assignees that are citing the most. So a quick, convenient way to identify all citations related to a document. And finally, a family chart. I know that it's a pretty popular feature among law firms in general. I'm going to let Marc comment on it. But basically, the purpose here is to show the relationship of each patent within an extended family.
Yeah, and again, right, I think everybody on the call is familiar with patent family trees, as us old timers call them. And the Orbit tool does a really nice job of this. Very accurate. It's not shown here, but it allows you to color code by status or by other characteristics. And frankly, I'm not remembering the color coding of the arrows, but there is a meaning to the color coding of the arrows also with respect to whether it's a national phase, a CIP, a continuation, divisional, et cetera. And what I really like about this is you can generate the graph and then take and drag it around, geometrically any way you want to make it look pretty or to highlight things. And again, it's just a really well done family tree tool.
Several features we haven't covered today. We've covered how we do, approach a client and use the analysis to do business development. There are several types of analysis that Orbit can perform: landscapes, what space analysis. One we wanted to highlight very briefly is the evaluation and benchmarking, the ability to evaluate a portfolio. So the next slide shows you a little bit more in detail how you can evaluate the portfolio. We calculate about 50 metrics on a patent portfolio, and they all kind of lead to a final ranking. If you can show the next slide, Marc. So that final ranking on the right side here is based on the metrics that you see on screen. We don't take all the metrics for this ranking, but some of them. The key here, and I think it's really representative of Questel's mentality and how we approach these features, is we give you the possibility to play with the criteria. You can see it in the bottom left of your screen. So basically, if you believe that forward citation is the most important to evaluate a patent, then you can scroll it, put this little cursor to the right and emphasize the importance on forward citations. And that helps you adapt to the vision of your clients, because you probably have the same as us. Some of our clients will tell us forward citations mean all. Some will tell us, well, family size is more important. Some will say litigation. So all of these options are available so you can adapt to this vision and talk the same language as your client.
Yeah, let me add one more thing to this. I've used this successfully for business development on several occasions, and it's very powerful to go into a potential new client who has a large patent portfolio and tell them, you have, I'll give you a hypothetical similar one I found, 200 pending patent assets. By pending, I mean, live patent assets on which you're paying annuities. I don't know, on average, 1,000 or 2,000 a year. You've got a couple hundred of them for which you have not filed any continuation. Nobody has cited to it. Semantically, it doesn't seem to be terribly original, and other things, And does that mean you should abandon all those? Of course not. No one's suggesting that. But you might want to take a look at those, because those are patents, 200 patents in my example, that statistically have no indications of high value. And when you go and take a look at those, usually there are, number one, if you get the job to take a look at that, that's work, that's new business, and usually you can find patents in there that are probably no longer of value to the client and save them a lot of money in annuities and look like a hero, quite frankly. So very powerful business development tool.
Okay, so we can open the Q&A session. We got some questions on the chat. Marc, I'll let you read the first one.
Okay, sure. And this is an interesting question. The question is, when you break down a company portfolio into technical areas, can you identify who's prosecuting for that company in those specific technical areas? And the answer is yes. Number one, you can take a look at, as I mentioned, you can at any time look at the underlying data of the patents by mousing over the graph and clicking on it, and a window will pop up that will show you all the patents in there. And you can peruse those patents one by one and look at who the representative is. But you can also take and select those patents to do another analysis on, and you can look at who the representatives are for those particular patents. So the answer is absolutely yes. You can slice and dice this many different ways, and you can figure out, who's doing work for what client in what specific technical area. So should I go on with questions? I'll continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, because we've got a couple here. And please feel free to enter them now as we're addressing questions. But the next question was, do you use Orbit data to present to clients? And that is also an emphatic yes. One of the first things I do when I am approaching a client is do a quick study along the lines of the things we've shown you here. What do they own? What technology areas are they in? Who are their representatives? Do they have active continuation strategy? All that, and I take a look at that. And much of that I will then share with the potential client and tell them, hey, look, this is the research I did on you, to prepare for a meeting, and so I thought I would share it with you. And sometimes it's very powerful in that you'll tell the client more in that first meeting than they knew about their, than they had learned about their patent portfolio in several years. So, and even when you don't tell them something new, I think clients very much appreciate that you took a look at what they have, and it reflects well on you. Now, certainly with active clients, we even do more analysis, and we use this for various purposes, from showing them who their competitors are, what their competitors are doing, to, as we talked about a few moments ago, identifying patents that may no longer be of value. And I absolutely present the data and the graphics to clients. I usually cut and paste them in a slide deck, quite frankly, is the best way to do it. But the answer is yes. I use it for clients, and clients love it. And my understanding is that it is well within my license from Orbit to do so.
Okay. Well, Marc, thank you very much for your presentation today and for showing us how you use Orbit for your business development activity. We appreciate you sharing those best practices. If among the attendees there's more questions, you can see there's an email address on the bottom right of the screen, communication@questel.com. Please feel free to submit them, and we'll respond to them and come back to you after the webinar. Thank you everybody for attending, and we're looking forward to another session. Thank you, Marc.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.